Hello students. So in the last class we have discussed regarding the components of blood. Okay, detail what are the different components of blood and its functions. So today's class we will discuss what are the different blood groups which are present in the human beings, blood groups and blood coagulation, lymph and the circulatory pathway. Okay, so in today's class we will discuss briefly regarding the blood group. Okay, so you already know that in human beings generally we have got four different blood groups are there: A, B, AB and O group. Okay, then on what basis does these blood groups are classified, and how and to which person we can donate the blood, in what way, and what are the methods to be followed, all in detail we will study in today's class. So before that, let us know what is the definition of blood groups and all. So blood groups are especially they are characteristics of blood in humans and related primates. It is due to the mainly it is presence of genetically controlled by the antigens and the antibodies. So again here in the blood group you have to know the definition of antigen and the antibodies. Okay, so antigens are nothing but they are the glycoproteins. Okay, antigens are nothing but they are the glycoproteins which are present on the membrane of the RBC. So generally here the blood group it is determined by the antigen which is present on the membrane of the RBC, right? So again here in the antigens we have got two types. One is antigen A and the one is the antigen B. Fine. Two types of antigens are there. One is antigen A and another one is the antigen B. Right. So again here the human blood it is classified based on the antigens which are present on the RBC. This antigen. Then what about the role of these antibodies? So again here antibodies, even antibodies are also proteins which are present on the blood plasma. Antibodies are proteins, they are present on the blood plasma, and the antigens are the glycoproteins which are present on the membrane of the RBC. Antigens are present on the membrane of RBC and the antibodies are present on the blood plasma. Fine. So again what are the types of blood groups we'll see. So we have got two types of blood groups. One is ABO grouping and another one is the RH grouping. So again this RH grouping it is a special case that we'll see later. So meanwhile we'll see what are the different criteria which comes under the ABO grouping. That is ABO blood grouping. So again here ABO grouping. So generally it was first discovered. It is based on the presence and absence of two surface antigens. Presence and absence of the antigens, either it may be antigen A or antigen B. Then chemical. What are antigens? Antigens are nothing but that chemicals that can induce the immune response on the RBCs, namely A and B. So two types of antigens, A and antigen B. Similarly, the plasma of different individual they contains two natural antibodies. Okay, so again antibodies where they are present, so generally they are present in the blood plasma. So what does they do? These proteins they produce the response to the antigens. What's the function of antibodies? Antibodies they are the proteins which will produce the response to the antigens. They will produce response to the antigens, whereas antigens these are the chemicals that will induce the immune response. Fine. So what are the blood groups are there? ABO blood grouping and RH grouping we'll see now in detail. Okay. So again here in the ABO blood grouping, that is in human beings, what are the different types of blood groups and how it is distributed we'll see. So in blood groups how many types? ABO grouping and another one is the RH grouping. So again here how the distribution is done here. So this is an important table how the blood grouping is done. That is it's the distribution of antigens and the antibodies in the four groups of blood. That is A, B, AB and O. These are the four different types of blood groups are there. So again here the person who is having blood group A, then he will be having antigen A on the RBC. The person with blood group A will be having antigen A on the RBC, but he will be having antibody B in the plasma. The person who is having antigen A, he will be having antibody B. Okay, then he can donate the blood. Donors, he can donate the blood to A and the O. The person who is having antigen A, then he will be having blood group A. If the person is having antigen B, then he will be having blood group B. If the person is having antigen both A and B, then the blood group will be AB. Okay. Then O group means he will be not having any antigens on the RBC. Fine. Then what about the antibodies? If the person is having antigen A, then you will be having antibody B. If the person is having antigen B in the RBC, but he will be having antibody A. Fine. Then if he is having antigen both A and B, then you will not find any antibodies. Antibody will be absent. Whereas in case of blood group O, you will not find any antigens, but instead of antigens, you will find that you will be having both antibody A and B. Okay, so this is a complete table of the blood groups A, B, AB and O. If the person is having antigen A in the RBC, then the blood group will be A. Fine. If the person is having B in the antigen, then he will be having blood group B. If he is having both antigen A and B, then he will be having blood group AB. If the antigen is absent, then the blood group will be O. Fine. Then to whom the person can, here you have to know two definitions, donors and the receivers. Donor and the recipient also will say for the receiver. Donors means to whom the person can donate the blood. Okay, that is these blood groups, the person to whom he can donate the blood, and the receiver means to whom he can receive the blood, from the person to whom he can receive. Donor, the one will give, receiver, the one who receive. Fine. So again here the person who is having blood group A can donate the blood group A and the O. Donors, they can donate the blood and he can receive the blood group of A and AB both. Then B, the donors, he can donate the blood group to the B group as well as O group. Whereas he can receive, the person who is having blood group B, they can receive the blood from blood of B group as well as AB both. Fine. Then the person who is having AB group, the person who is having AB group, he can donate the blood to any of this person, A, B, AB and O group, to any of them. Then the person who is having blood group AB, they can receive AB group. They can donate to any of these groups, but they can receive only AB group. Fine. Then O group. So again you have the O group, they can donate to this, but they can receive to any of these blood groups. Receivers can receive O group, AB and any of these groups they can receive. Okay. So again now you can see that O group can be donated to any person. Okay, they can donate to any person with other blood groups. Hence the O group is commonly known as universal donors. You can see the receivers, they can receive. O group can be received by any of these persons. Okay. So O group, it is commonly known as universal donors. They can be donated to any of these blood groups. Receivers can receive any of this. Okay. Then the person is having AB group, they can accept the blood group from the person AB as well as other group of blood also. So because of that reason, the AB, they are called as universal receiver. They can receive any of these blood groups. Okay, they are called as universal receivers. AB, they can be receive any of the blood groups, AB or O. But the person who is having O group, they can donate to any of the other person. So O group is commonly known as universal donors and AB is known as universal recipient. Fine, that's the blood groups. So again in blood grouping, first is ABO grouping. So again in ABO grouping, how the ABO grouping is done based on the antigen and the antibody. So this is a table of the blood group. Okay, so O group is commonly known as universal donor and AB is known as universal recipient. This is clear, blood grouping. So next we'll move on to the another case that is RH grouping. So again here this RH grouping, it is one of the very special case we can say. Fine. So what do you mean by RH grouping? And in this we'll be studying the Another case, that is erythroblastosis fetalis. So what do you mean by erythroblastosis fetalis? That we'll see. So RH grouping, there are several other proteins in the blood that will bring about the agglutination under certain conditions, and the most important of these are the RH factors. Okay, so why the term is given this RH? RH, it is mainly caused because it was discovered in the rhesus monkeys. Okay, rhesus monkeys, that is RH system. It was discovered by Landsteiner and Weiner in 1940. Okay, the antigen, RH antigen, is similar to the one which is present in the rhesus monkeys. So first time it was discovered in the rhesus monkeys. So because of that, the name is given as RH. Hence the name is RH. So it was observed on the surface of the RBCs of majority of the human beings. Okay, it was observed in the RBCs of majority of human beings, and such individuals are called as RH positive. If the person is having RH in the RBCs, then we call it as RH positive, and those in which the antigen is absent. If RH is absent, then we call it as RH negative. Okay, so you have to know these two terms. What do you mean by RH positive and RH negative? RH positive, RH is an antigen. Okay, so it is similar to that of rhesus monkey. It is also observed on the surface of the RBC majority of the human beings. If the person is having RH in his blood, then it is known as RH positive. If it is absent, then we call it as a RH negative. RH positive and RH negative. Okay, so what is the condition here that we have to see? An RH negative person is exposed to the RH positive blood, then will form the specific antibodies against the RH antigen. So therefore RH group should be matched before the transfusion. So whenever the blood transfusion is done, so during that case what happens, even RH factor also should be matched. Okay, to overcome the clotting and the clamping of the blood. To avoid the risk, what we have to do, RH groups also should be matched. Okay, so here in this case what happens means, the RH negative person, if he get exposed to the RH blood, then what happens means the specific antibodies against the RH antigen will produce. Fine. So what we have to do to avoid this? To avoid this, the RH group should be matched before the transformation of blood. This RH should be matched. Okay, here you can see that the special case of RH that is mismatching has been absorbed. So mismatching of this RH group has been absorbed between the RH negative blood of the pregnant woman. Okay, if the pregnant woman, if she is having the RH negative in her blood with RH positive blood in the fetus, if the baby in her womb, the baby is having RH positive and the pregnant woman is having RH negative in her blood, so what happens in that case? The RH antigen of the fetus, it does not get exposed to the RH negative blood of the mother during the first pregnancy. Okay, hope you are understanding what I am saying. During the first pregnancy, what happens? The blood, that is the RH positive of the fetus, will not get or will not comes in contact with the blood of the mother. Okay, so mother is having RH negative and the baby is having RH positive. Fine. So during the pregnancy, during the first pregnancy there is no problem. Why there is no problem during the first pregnancy? As the two bloods are well separated by the placenta. Okay, so there is no problem during the first pregnancy as both are separated by the placenta. So however, during the delivery of the first child, there is a possibility of exposure of the maternal blood to the small amount of RH positive blood from the fetus. So during the delivery time, what happens? There is a chance of exposure of the mother blood with that of small amount of RH positive of the fetus. There's mixing of chances are there during delivery time. In such cases, what happens? The mother starts preparing the antibodies against the RH in her blood. So when the fetus blood will get mixed with the mother's blood, then the mother's blood will start preparing the antibodies in her body. against the RH positive in our blood. Okay, so in this case, so what happens here, during the subsequent pregnancy, that is during the second pregnancy, the RH antibodies from the mother can get mixed or can mix with that of the fetus, and it will destroy the fetal RBC. So during the first pregnancy there is no risk, but whereas when the problem arises during the second pregnancy, where the mother's blood already started preparing the antibodies, fine, then this mother's blood, it start destroying the fetal RBC. Okay, so what happens here, the RH antibodies from the mother's blood, it will get leaked into the blood of the fetus. So fetus is having RH negative. If it is having RH negative, then it occurs. Okay, then it will destroy the fetal RBC. The RBC of the fetus will be destroyed. This could be fatal to the fetus, or it will also cause a severe anemia. Okay, so what happens, it will start destroying the fetus RBC. Okay, but it is again, it will be very severe. It will cause anemia and the jaundice to the baby. Okay, so this condition we commonly call it as erythroblastosis fetalis. Erythroblastosis fetalis, erythrocytes, that is the bursting of the RBC of the fetus. The RBCs of the fetus will be destroyed. Okay, that we commonly call it as the erythroblastosis fetalis. The RBCs of the fetus will be destroyed. Fine. So this can be avoided. Okay. This can be avoided by administering the anti-RH antibodies to the mother immediately after the delivery of the first child. So this condition we can overcome, or it can be given the treatment by giving the anti-RH antibody injection to the mother immediately after the first delivery. Okay. So this is the second case, that is in the blood grouping. First one we have studied ABO blood grouping, and the second one is the RH blood grouping. RH blood grouping, it is a very special case where you can see if the mother is having RH negative and the baby is having RH positive. So what happens here, during the first pregnancy there is no chance of risk. Okay, the baby is safe because there is a barrier between the mother and the fetus, that is the placenta. But during the delivery time, what happens, the fetus blood will get mixed with the mother's blood, and the mother body starts preparing the antibodies against the RH. Fine. So during the subsequent pregnancy, that is during the second pregnancy, what happens here, during subsequent, the RH antibodies from the mother blood, it will start destroying the RBC of the fetus. Okay, RBC of the fetus will be destroyed. Again, the baby, it will be causes severe anemia and the jaundice. And that process we commonly call it as the erythroblastosis fetalis. Okay, that's RH grouping. Hope it is clear to you. RH grouping. Next comes the coagulation of blood. So this coagulation of blood and what are the mechanisms which comes under the coagulation, that we'll see later. So meanwhile, hope the blood group is clear to you. So how the blood grouping is done and what are the different blood groups are there, types of blood groups. Okay, one is ABO blood grouping, another one is the RH grouping. So again in ABO grouping, this table you have to keep in mind. Blood group, antigens and the antibodies, donors group and the receivers group, to whom the person can donate the blood and to whom which person can receive the blood it is given. Okay, then the O group is commonly called as universal donors and AB group is known as universal recipient. Then another case what we have studied is the RH grouping. So what is RH grouping and causes for erythroblastosis fetalis we have studied here. Next comes the coagulation of blood. So coagulation of blood, or commonly we call it as the clotting of blood. So you already know that if any injuries or accidents occurs, the blood will not flow continuously. So if something, any injuries happened, or if any cut occurs. Means what happens? Continuously the blood will not flow for an hours together. Okay, it will flow for certain time, again it will stop. Okay, how it will stop or what are the mechanism involved here, that we'll see. So blood clotting, generally it will prevent the excess loss of blood from an injury. Blood clotting is nothing but the prevention of loss of blood from the injury. Okay, again the clot is made up of network of the fibrins. It is generally made up of network of fibrins which traps the dead formed elements. It will trap the formed elements in the blood. Fine. So again in this clotting, so generally two reactions will take place. One is the inactive fibrinogen. It is converted into fibrin by an enzyme which is known as thrombin. Fibrinogen is converted into fibrin by the enzyme known as thrombin. Then this inactive, this prothrombin, is converted into thrombin by the enzyme which is known as thrombokinase. So during the blood coagulation, this reaction will take place. Cascade reaction, generally they will call for this. And injury, it stimulates the platelets to release the certain factors. Okay, so what happens here during the injury time? It will stimulate the platelets to produce certain factors and which will initiate the blood coagulation process. Okay, so immediately the blood coagulation will take place. So during this, even the calcium also plays an important process of the coagulation. Okay, so this is a flow chart. What are the steps which is involved during the clotting of the blood, or how the bleeding will stop here. You can see that at the injury site, the tissues releases platelets and the clotting factors, that is prothrombin activators, that is thrombokinase and the calcium ions. The prothrombin activators, it is converted into thrombin. Prothrombin is converted into thrombin, and the thrombin in turn it converts into fibrinogen into fibrin. Prothrombin is converted into thrombin and fibrinogen is converted into fibrin. Fibrin it will form the thread-like structures in which the red blood cells will get trapped. It will form just thread-like structures on the RBC. Then the clot is formed and the bleeding will stop. Okay. These reactions only. Fibrinogen, that is fibrinogen is converted into fibrin in the presence of thrombin. Then prothrombin is converted into thrombin in the presence of thrombokinase. Fine, that is the coagulation of blood. So during the clotting, how the blood will clot, that is the mesh thread-like structures are formed. Is this clear? Clotting of blood. So next another concept we'll discuss, that is the lymph. So where does this lymph water its functions and all we'll see. So lymph, it is also another fluid, that is tissue fluid, which is generally present in between the cells and the tissues. Okay. Lymph, for so far we have discussed only blood and the components of blood, and the second concept in this chapter is the lymph. Okay. Lymph, it is commonly known as interstitial fluid. It is known as interstitial fluid, and the tissue fluid which is generally present between the cells and the tissues. Cells of the tissues. Okay. So here you can see that the exchange of nutrients and the gases between the blood and the cells, it will always occur through this fluid only. So what's the function of this lymph? Exchange of nutrients and the gases, etc. will take place between the blood and the cells through this fluid. Through this lymph only the exchange of nutrients and gases will take place. Okay. Then the elaborate network of lymph vessels called as lymphatic system. The elaborate network of lymph vessels which is known as lymphatic system. And what does it will do? It will collect this fluid and drain back to the major veins. It will collect and it will drain back to the major cells. You can see here tissue cells, tissue space. So these are the lymphatic vessels and this is the tissue fluid. It will collect and drain back lymph capillaries. Okay, so lymphatic system, it will collect the fluid and drain back to the major veins. The fluid which is present in the lymphatic system, which is called as lymph. What is lymph? The fluid present in the lymphatic system is called as lymph. Okay, so lymph is a colorless fluid which is containing the specialized lymphocytes which are responsible for the immune response of the body. So again this lymph, it will plays a very important role in maintaining the immune system of the body. Okay, responsible for immune response of the body. So again lymph will also plays an important in the carrier of the nutrients, hormones, etc. And fats are absorbed through this lymph. It is in the form of lacteals. It is in the form of lacteals and it is present in the intestinal villi. These lacteals are present in the intestinal villi. What these lacteals will do? The fats are absorbed generally through the lymph in the lacteals. It helps in the absorption of the fats. Okay, lymph blood scissor representation. So in humans, you can see that we have got two types of lymphocytes. One is primary lymphocytes and the secondary lymphocytes. So primary lymphocytes, organs of the bodies are red bone marrow and the thymus glands. Red bone marrow and the thymus glands, they are known as primary lymphocytes. They are also called because they produce the B and T cells lymphocytes, so they carry out the immune response. B cells, generally B lymphocytes, they are produced in the red bone marrow cells, and the T cells or the T lymphocytes, they are produced in the thymus glands. Fine, there are two types of lymphocytes which are commonly known as primary lymphocytes, and secondary lymphocytes are lymph nodes and the spleen. Lymph nodes and the spleens are commonly known as secondary lymphatic organs. Okay, so this is about the brief description regarding the lymph. So this you can see that lymph capillaries in the tissue space. Okay, is this clear regarding the lymph? This you can take this screenshot and you can refer this also. You can make a note and you can read. It's a very simple points and very detailed points. Yeah, you can refer this also. Is this clear regarding the blood group and all? Okay, so next we'll move on to the circulatory pathway, a very interesting concept here. We can here we'll study that what are the different types of circulatory pathways and how many chambers of hearts are present in the different animals and all we'll see here. So what is circulatory pathway and what are the types we'll study now. So circulatory pathway, circulatory patterns, they are generally two types are there. One is open and the closed type of circulatory pathways. Open type of circulatory system, another one is the closed type of circulatory system. So already we have studied that what is open and the closed. Open type of circulatory system means here you will find that the animals, they have got the definite open means they have got indefinite blood vessels. Okay, directly the blood will flow through the body fluid only. You will not find any definite blood vessels present in the open type of circulatory pathway. Whereas in case of closed type of circulatory pathway, closed, they have got definite blood vessels and the blood is carried through the definite blood vessels, arteries, veins, blood capillaries and all. So in case of open and closed, we have got many significant importance are there that we will study later. So meanwhile we will see that in all the vertebrates what are the different types of circulatory pathways are present. Okay, so here you can see that generally they possess muscular chambered heart. In fishes, they have got two chambered heart with atrium, that is with auricles, and one ventricle. Two chambered heart. One auricle and another one is the ventricle. And the heart is called as venous heart since it pumps deoxygenated blood to the gills for oxygenation. Okay, so it will carry the blood through gills, pumps the deoxygenated blood to the gills for the oxygenation. the blood goes directly from gills to the visceral organs. So here they will find that only single type of circulation will find. Only one time it will go through the gills, it will get oxygenated and it will return back. Okay, so in case of fishes, you have got two chamber heart, one is auricle and one is the ventricle, and it is having only single circulation. Next, in case of amphibians and reptiles, in reptiles except crocodiles, you see crocodiles it is having four chambered heart, but whereas remaining amphibians and reptiles, they have got three chambered heart with two auricles and one ventricle. Three chambered heart means if it is having three chambered heart, two will be auricle and one will be ventricle. Whereas crocodiles, birds and mammals, they have got four chambered heart. Okay, with two auricles and two ventricles. In case of amphibians, so again in case of amphibians and reptiles, you can see that the left auricle will receive the oxygenated blood from lungs, gills, lungs, skin, and the right auricle will receive the deoxygenated blood from the other parts of the body. However, they get mixed up in the single ventricles which pumps and mixed out. So this we call it as an incomplete double circulation. Incomplete double circulation. Incomplete means here you can find that there is a mixing of both oxygenated blood as well as the deoxygenated blood. Okay, incomplete double circulation. Where you will find this incomplete double circulation? In amphibians and reptiles. Okay, so whereas in case of birds and mammals, here we have got very special case that we have got double circulation. So again we have got complete double circulation where you will not find any mixing of oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. So oxygenated and deoxygenated blood they are received by the left and the right auricles respectively. Okay, left and the right auricles. So left part will receive the oxygenated blood and the right part will receive the deoxygenated blood respectively, and they passes on to the ventricles of the same side. Then the ventricles will pump it out without any mixing. So ventricles will pump out without any mixing of oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. So two separate circulatory pathways are present in these organisms. So they are commonly known as double circulation. Complete double circulation is present. Okay, so the heart of the birds generally they have got left and right auricles and left and the right ventricles. So in case of birds and mammals including the human beings, we have got four chambered heart, two auricles and two ventricles. So keep in mind that in case of mammals and all, the left part will receive the oxygenated blood and the right part will receive the deoxygenated blood. Right, so there is no mixing of oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. So for complete double circulation. Is it clear? So this is circulatory pathways. So this table you can see that what type of heart and circulatory system is present. In case of fishes are having two chambered heart. One is auricle and one is ventricle, and it is having single circulation. Okay, it is having single circulation. Then amphibians and reptiles. They are having three chambered heart, two auricles and one ventricles. So in case of amphibians and reptiles, you will find it is having incomplete double circulation. It is having incomplete double circulation. Whereas in case of crocodiles, apes, that is birds and mammals, including human beings, we have got four chambered heart with two auricles and two ventricles. Two auricles and two ventricles, and we have got complete double circulation. Complete double circulation, you will not find any mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, so these are the different types of animals and the circulatory pathways which are present in this. Fishes, they are having two chambered heart, one auricle and one ventricle. Amphibians and reptiles, they have got three chambered heart with two auricles and one ventricle. And birds and mammals, they have got four chambered heart with two auricles and two ventricles. Okay, is this clear? That is circulatory pathways. So in circulatory pathway, how many types are there? There are two types. One is open type of circulatory pathway and the one is the closed type of circulatory pathway. And these are the examples are there in different animals. So how these adaptation is done. Okay, hope this is clear. Circulatory pathways. So in detail, in the next class we'll see the difference between circulatory pathway that is open and closed type of circulatory pathways, and human circulatory system. We'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so hope this is clear to you. So in today's class we have discussed regarding the blood groups. So how many types of blood groups are there in human beings? Okay, so to which group of blood group they can be donated to the other donors and recipients in detail we have studied the table. Okay, the table is important. Then we have discussed regarding the clotting of blood. So this is the flow chart of the clotting of the blood. Then lymph, then circulatory pathways. Okay, so today's concepts are clear to you. Okay, so in the next class we'll study regarding the human circulatory system in detail. Okay, take care. Have a nice day.